so that they would have it ready.
And a record of it as a doctor?
It doesn't hurt to go to the doctor. Now, you know, if you get admitted to a hospital these days, a federal law requires they ask, do you have a living will? And so could we have, not a living will, advance directives. So, now, if people use the term living will or durable power of attorney for health care, that's fine. But the term that's used in Georgia now is advance directives. And that's what the hospitals here ought to be asking for. Yeah. No, that's a good point. You ought to make sure people have it. And I know I have a box of stuff. You know, I told my son, you know, if something happens to your mother or me, everything you really need to know is in this box. You know, bank accounts and things like that, and our wills and the advance directive. Yes, sir.
4 years ago, I moved from Wisconsin to Georgia. I had a living will in Wisconsin. Then I found out that they couldn't use that here. So I have two different ones, as a matter of fact. But does it make it, you know, suppose I'm in Massachusetts with one of my kids, and I get sick and I'm in the hospital and it's maybe even terminal, do I have to have a separate living will there too?
Most states will accept one that substantially complies with their law. Particularly, say if you're visiting your son in Massachusetts, you're from Georgia, and they'll certainly look at a Georgia document. We never think to take these things. You know, when we go on a trip, we're never expecting to, be in that situation. Probably not a bad idea to take one overseas if you're traveling overseas. Although I wouldn't want to say too much about what laws might be in other countries. But most countries, most first and second world countries, understand what this is. Sometimes in third world countries, they don't have the medical facilities, which could prolong your life all the long, depending on where you are in the country.
But are you saying that this particular document might be a little bit more universal than the one I had made previously 4 years ago?
They're probably going to look at the most recent ones. I would not flood them with paper. I would take the most recent one that you have signed with the most recent date on it and use that. This is not the time you want to get into arguing over legal niceties. You want it to be clean, and you want the person, I emphasize this, the right person making the decision. Yes, ma'am? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I would think so. I would think so. The question was, suppose you scanned it and put it on your smartphone, would that be valid? I would think it probably would be. I don't think it probably would be.
Frank, in all fairness,
Sure.
what you're really doing is you're putting a document in place that says, these are my wishes, these are my desires.
That's correct.
At some point, you're going to have someone who's an advocate for you, either a family member, a physician, or otherwise. If that information is available to them, it helps allow them to make the decisions that are necessary. Fair?
You just covered the whole topic in about 2 sentences, but that's exactly right. And yeah, there you go.
I'm here for you, Frank.
There, I appreciate it. That's about it. You want it to be the right person making this decision, and it gives comfort to them to know that they're making the decision that you wanted. It gives comfort to you that you're making the decision that your mother or your father wanted, if you're doing it for a parent. And it also gives you, I don't want to say it gives you armor, but it gives you something to say to your brothers and sisters, in the case of your parents or children, your children. If brothers and sisters are scattered all over the place, say, here, we have this document, this is what mom and dad wanted. We talked about it, we went through it. And it helps everybody to feel that they're doing the right thing. Yes, sir.
I had a question. I was trying to kind of reconcile the document in terms of, in part 2 here, it describes terminal condition and permanent unconsciousness. But I'm trying to think in cases where, we may be dealing with dementia, Alzheimer's disease, where, there may be like a long-term type of care where these wishes, for the person need to be documented somewhere. For example, I don't want to go to a nursing home. I want to, stay at home, for example. So where would be a good place to capture those kind of references, on this kind of
The issues of Alzheimer's and dementia are very difficult issues. For to answer your question, I would say that if you have a relative, or you or your parents, who are in a position of dementia, progressing, I have a sister in that position right now. You want to get this stuff done sooner rather than later. You don't want to have someone questioning whether they were really competent to write a will, to write a trust, to write an advance directive. I have a friend of mine, I went over to a minor addition to her will. Her husband asked me to come over, we did it, we signed it, and she has Alzheimer's, and after we got done, we were sitting there chatting, and she said, "Frank, why did you come over here? Was there a reason you came over?" I said, "Well, yeah, we wanted to sign it." "Oh, did we sign it?" I would be more concerned if this was a major thing. This was something her husband was doing, was just changing, wanted done, just to change the executor of the will from a CPA who was dying to one of their kids. That was the right thing to do. But, that's what you run into with that when you get to the point where you can't be confident of their abilities. Now, to your other question as to what to say when you want to say, I don't want to go to a nursing home, I don't want to go to assisted living, I don't want to go to an institution, I want to stay at home. You could put that in this document. The problem is, how effective would it be? I don't know. You could put it in a separate document. You talk to your kids till you're blue in the face over it, or your parents have talked to you till they're blue in the face over it. And that's a very, very difficult situation, because the reality is, in many, many, many cases, the best thing for the patient is to go into institutional care. I always recommend to people, I've recommended this to my nieces and nephews with my sister, to try to get her, when they can afford to, get her into institutional care where she feels like she's making this decision, or she's part of this decision. And it's going to be in a place where she's going to be able to stay for the long run, even though she will move through, various levels of care as her condition deteriorates. That's a very hard promise to make. And another person was, I had a cousin, she was a single woman. We were early relatives here in Atlanta, and my wife made that promise to her. And we got to the point where if she went home, she would have been dead in 24 hours. She could not care for herself. She couldn't even have somebody in there. She was that bad off. And we almost had to have her physically, had to convince her very strongly that she needed to go into an institutional setting. We didn't want to do it, but sometimes that's what you've got to do. You've got to look for what's best for that person. Yes, ma'am.
In the absence of the advance directive, who is the legal person to make any decision?
Well, first of all, the advance directive doesn't kick in until the patient, is unable to make their own decisions. So no matter how sick you are, if you go into the hospital, right, you're still conscious, you're still rational, you're still able to make your own decisions. That's still your responsibility. But then it's the person you designate as your agent. The first paragraph says, who is your healthcare agent? And you give the name and address. And they can make a lot of those decisions. So you're giving a lot to this person. It's not just what medication you get. They get the authority to discharge you, to put you into a hospital or into an assisted living. They give the authority for you to receive certain medications. There are a couple of exemptions in there for psychotropic medications and things like that. But by and large, they can do anything that you could do. You give them the right to look at your medical history. You know, okay, I haven't answered your question.
Yeah.
Come back again.
You didn't answer exactly what I want to know. Never, I just filled out this form, and I just ended up in the hospital.
Yes.
And nobody just knows that I'm in the hospital. Finally, somebody just
Mhm.
find, because I'm unconscious,
Mhm.
somebody find my husband or any of my family. Who is going to make a decision for any treatment that needs to be done on me? Without the form, yes.
Normally, they will look to the next of kin. They would normally look to your spouse. They would then secondarily look to your children. And beyond that, there's a line of people who would do it. If they couldn't find anybody, then they have to keep looking. But they'll make what the hospital thinks is the best decision. So, I'll give you a quick one. A friend of mine's son, 40-year-old son, was out jogging. He's jogging, shorts and all that, and had a stroke and dropped over. Didn't have any ID on him. Took me 3 days to figure out who he was. And I had to put it on TV. We see this young man. So, warning to the runners: carry some ID with you. You never know. You never know. And the hospital did what they could, but it was stressful for their parents to find out that their son had, and he ended up dying in the hospital. So, a little more wisdom for the runners in the crowd. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
A little bit about maybe the appropriate use of do not resuscitate, how that fits into Catholic teachings, and also the impact of that maybe with the elderly and frail. I know resuscitating is hard on them also. A little confused about that. And who would make that decision? Also, who the healthcare person be able to make that decision, or is it required by law to do that?
All right. Good question. She's asking about somebody who might be frail and who makes the decision if they do not resuscitate. A couple of aspects of that question. Well, one is particularly somebody who's frail, elderly, in a poor condition. The CPR, which is done, the compression, chest compression, compressions, things like that, are pretty dramatic. In doing it, people end up with broken ribs, and their EMTs or the doctors or the nurses are doing the best they can, but it can be very stressful on people. The question to the church is that proportionate to the cost, and I'm not talking about monetary cost, but to the physical cost to the person, or is it time to let them go? That's an individual decision. Now, the thing about the DNR, do not resuscitate, is that that's a medical order that the nurse has to follow, or the EMT has to follow. So do not resuscitate, and someone has lost consciousness, they're not breathing, their heart stopped, there's nothing to do but stand there.
But
And
if
they
you
will
don't
die.
have one, can the who has power of health attorney decide to not resuscitate them, or are they required by law then to do it if they don't have a DNR?
The question is if there is not a DNR. Well, a doctor, hospital physician is always required to try to save a patient, and normally they will do whatever they can. But the DNR normally has to be consented to by the person. I have a friend of mine who he was in very late stages of a cancer. He had been MD Anderson and all these things. They finally said, we're not getting anywhere. And he was consciously able to make that decision that I will have the DNR. And he had the benefit of being able to say goodbye to his family. A lot of times, people in that situation are not conscious. And the DNR takes effect, and they would not be resuscitated. I think I might have missed part of your question.
I guess, I'm just wondering, like, if an EMT comes, and will they make a decision whether this is too hard on the person, that it's not going to help them?
No.
Or?
The EMT, the question was about EMT. If you call the EMTs and say somebody's just collapsed, they're here, it's their obligation to try to resuscitate that person, we'll be in touch with the hospital, try to resuscitate that person, stabilize them, get them in the ambulance, and get them to the hospital.
Even if it would cause breaking of bones or whatever,
they'll do the best they
do
can.
the best they can.
Yeah.
And the healthcare person, or whoever has power of that, doesn't really have any, can't stop it or can't say definitely.
I don't think an EMT can make that kind of a decision that whether to resuscitate or not. That have to be made in consultation with the doctor, with the family. Except in the case of a pulsed. And I think that's what, correct me if I'm wrong, but.
Well, yeah, but facilities like assisted living communities, they can ignore a DNR or a pulse until the EMS shows up or if they're on hospice care.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna move a senior into a community like that, you gotta bring that up prior to moving them in. Will you honor my pulse agreement and let me die naturally rather than waiting for EMS to do that? So just because you have it doesn't mean they're gonna follow it. Just like a power of attorney at a bank may not work if it's not the bank's power of attorney. So a lot of times it's good to get your power of attorneys in place, but also get to the bank and fill out their power of attorney.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's really the personal thing. Yeah, assisted living facility, the hospital, they don't want liability, and that's why they want everybody on board. You raised the question, or the issue of a financial power of attorney. A little bit beyond the scope of what we were going to talk about tonight, but it's a very good point. The financial power of attorney is a different document than this. If you name your healthcare agent, that person doesn't have the right to go into your bank account, sell your home, or things like that. There is a document that you can use called financial power of attorney, where you would give that kind of authority, either just carte blanche to some other person, or at the point where you are no longer able to handle your affairs. Sometimes that gets to be a dicey issue, but a financial power of attorney is a different document, and something that I would recommend. And as I would always raise a financial power of attorney with clients when they come in for a will. As I add the advanced directive for healthcare and a financial power of attorney, and consider all those documents together. Father.
If a person collapses in the community, in the church, or in a restaurant, can we try to help by resuscitating the person? Is it legal? If in the mass one person collapses, should we try to resuscitate them or wait for the emergency to come?
Well, hopefully there would be somebody there. The question, what about let's say if someone was at Mass and fell over, what you do? Well, hopefully there'd be somebody there who might have some CPR training or have some first aid training, or maybe go to a physician. And certainly you'd want to help them any way that you can, but you also want to be calling EMT, call 911. The only tip that I have on that from a friend of mine who is a physician, I asked, I said, what do you do if you collapse? I said, well, there are two things. If they're awake by the time they hit the floor, then it might be they didn't have enough to eat for breakfast or something like that. It's not a major thing. If they go kaboom over flat and they're not awake, it's a big problem. It's a heart attack or something like that, and of course you really need to get professional help. Yeah, if there's anyone in the church, we certainly want to try to help them.
We have, on the wall back there,
Mhm.
we have the kit that, I think the ushers know where it is. Anyway, if somebody should just ask and needs to be resuscitated, they've got those paddles.
Yeah,
It's right back there on the wall.
yeah, and they're saved in a lot of places now. She's asking a question about the paddles. I hope you get some people who are trained in them. Ushers or,
Yeah, you don't,
It's automatic.
tells
Yeah.
you this here, and exactly what to do. So when somebody does.
it still would be a good idea if somebody knew what to do. I mean, you want to be sitting there reading the instruction booklet.
But it actually gives you verbal instructions.
Oh, okay.
You use it, it guides you through it. They are set up so that anybody who has not been trained is capable
Oh,
of
okay,
using it.
good.
And I believe there are also good Samaritan laws that protect you.
Protect you from, as long as you're acting reasonably, right? All right, I don't see any other hands. Well, I thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm going to give you one advertisement at the end. So one of the things I do is deal with public policy. One of the things we do every year is have what we call Catholic Day at the Capitol. Father was there last year with us. This year, we've just come up with the date. You're among the first to know. The 21st of February, we're going to have Catholic Day at the Capitol. We usually choose several issues of importance to the church, or not important to the church, important to the people. Important. One of the, I don't know. I'm told that we may have an assisted suicide bill this year. As I said at the outset, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know that it'll be well received in Georgia. But if it is, I can pretty much tell you that would be one of the issues we would be dealing with. So look for it. Be on the Archdiocesan website. I think a lot of the churches put it in their bulletin. We're sending it out this week in the communique, which is the thing that goes out to all the parishes with information from the Archdiocese. So we'd love to have you with us, and look forward to working with you.